I don't know. One of these days I'll learn about
You know how to do
all
those?
this. Listen, there's a whole,
Come here and sit on the sofa. You'll do sound check, so if it's not right, we can't see you back there anyway.
yeah.
We can't look that way.
Yeah, the sofa's good.
The sofa's not on though, right?
So are we good?
The sofa's not on. She's
Hold on.
so scared to be on.
Super. So the green room.
Going.
Wow. Hey.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Wow.
You, yeah, starting.
So the green room is getting sophisticated.
We are. We have like a whole team now.
I know.
It's like so exciting.
It is, and I was gonna put something on my phone or something.
I'm not technical.
I know. One of these
either.
days I'm gonna learn.
Me too. Me
And
too.
you know, it's funny with the telehealth. We're continuing to do telehealth, of course. Listen, insomnia is the topic, and we'll get there.
Oh
I had
God,
another
yeah.
night myself.
Mine's
saying.
every night. So hence the large coffee. Thank you, Donna.
For sure. But the point is, telehealth continues. It's great.
It does.
We're doing it. But I do joke with my patients that it depends on the amount of gray hairs between the two of us, is how likely that the full video link will occur. Right?
This is true.
Because on the computer, it's a little tough. You have to have the right audio driver, video driver.
It's
If you
complicated
have a
for some
smartphone,
people.
it's easy, and our system allows a text just to go to the phone. So it's one
Which
less
is
thing that
nice.
I lose sleep over, which is great.
Well,
Listen,
I
insomnia
just
is
don't sleep. So for those, and honestly, this came about because I did a Facebook post that I couldn't sleep. It's a typical night for me. I usually get like 3 hours sleep, and after a while, it wears on your body, and you get tired. You can only function so much. So then we were like, why not talk about medical cannabis and insomnia? Because I'm probably needing to be a patient. So what happens when you use cannabis, and what happens with insomniacs? Because I really need to know myself.
sleep. Listen, let's just back it up.
Mhm.
Sleep is one of the essentials of a good life. It just is.
It is.
And, there's an entire regeneration process that is put in circadian rhythm, as it is well described in all mammals,
Mhm.
to that extent. I, as an emergency physician, went completely against circadian rhythm essentially my entire working career. Because really the ER world is such that you really never have a consistency of
Sleep.
schedule. And unless you want to be a director of an ER, which I never wanted to be,
No,
the
I
director is
wanted-
really the only one that can sit there and scoop up the day shifts. I mean, that's the one advantage.
Yeah.
But you got to go to the committee meetings. You got to write everybody else's complaint letters. You got to do the protocol books. And there's many things that I'm good at, Ruta. But if you lay a protocol book on my desk, how long is it going to sit there?
It's not going to happen.
So I've always said that the
Over
reason
here.
that I was a quality emergency physician is that I stayed in my lane.
Yeah.
And I love taking care of people,
you're
and I
great
love
with
the day-to-day
patients. Great with
aspect of that. But that meant that I was still working 6 night shifts every single month, right? And a night shift in the ER is a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, right? And that's pretty crazy. So
Crazy, and you get all the crazies in.
you know what? No, but there was a joy in the night shift, and I love my night shift workers. I do. And
No, it's a different breed.
it's
of
a different
people.
breed of
It's a
people.
different- it is a
And I always
different
tell
breed
my
of people.
paramedics and my cops and my nurses that,
It's a
working
great
that
breed.
night shift was a joy, but it destroys your body in a lot of ways.
It does.
But what it did for me was it ruined my sleep cycle forever. And when you work a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, you get home. I used to drive an hour to and from work, believe it or not, from Alliance, Ohio. I know we have some viewers from up there. But anyway, one of the joys now, I live 10 minutes from work, of course, with a
With a normal
dispensary,
shift.
with one of the largest dispensaries in the state in between my house and work, but that's another whole story. But the point is, when you get off of work at 7 in the morning and you drive, you get home at 8, your most dangerous time, believe it or not, in any emergency doctor's life is that drive home after that night shift.
Sure,
And I've lost a partner to that, believe it or not.
That's not fun.
But the point is, you go home and maybe you can get a good 4-hour or 5-hour block of sleep, right? Because then your kids are coming home from school.
Yeah, regular life happens.
Regular life happens.
Yeah.
So when you're younger, your body can sustain that. As you get older, your kids move out of the house, and then you could be a slug, so to speak. And then you can maybe get 6 or 7 hours in that 12-hour home block.
But
Right.
still, it's so abnormal because most people are functioning at that time and you're sleeping at that time, and then you have to come to life at nighttime.
So just to get to the point of the matter, my sleep cycle is always going to be a 4-hour block. And that's
Mine
probably
too.
going to be for the rest of my life.
Me
And
too.
I've adapted to it. But the point is, we all need good sleep. the article, and I think Don, you found it, that we
Yeah.
posted a couple days ago, and let's make
If
sure
you
that we
haven't read
reference
it, please read it. It's on our Facebook page. It's a really good article about insomnia and sleep. And
It is, and it describes
Very
some
good.
things that even I had to be refreshed on, because let's face it, emergency doctors aren't the sleep experts. But of course, there's REM sleep, but also I think there were 4 cycles of sleep
There
that were
are.
described and things of that
It brought us
nature.
back to like biology 101.
It really did.
It
So you have to look
did,
at
but
the
it was very
basics, and
good,
you
the
also have to look at
basics.
the endocannabinoid system, everybody, as one of our basic systems inside the body, not taught in med school, not yet, believe it or not, still. And we like to call it the 13th organ system of the body. I can call myself a endocannabinoidologist, so to speak, because literally the system head to toe. And it's only the THC part of cannabis, one of the 144 at least different cannabinoids, that interacts with the CB1 receptors in the brain to cause that high feeling or sensation, right? And
Yeah, my question, because I think a lot of people listening are like me, where you don't use cannabis, and you're gonna say, okay, well, doesn't that make you high, and doesn't it make you hyper? So isn't it gonna keep me up all night? Because that's like, I hear that a lot. People are like, well, I don't want to use cannabis because it's gonna make me just like wig out and be really high and like not sleep, or it's gonna make me crash on the sofa and then I'm gonna be late for work.
here's the point.
So-
THC is the only one of those cannabinoids that will cause that mental,
Oh,
quote
okay.
unquote, high effect. And here's the point. It's all the other cannabinoids. CBD, for example, most people have now seen, unless you're blind. It's that red flashing light on every corner.
Every corner,
Don't
gas
buy it.
station.
Don't buy it at the vape shop or gas station,
Gas station,
everybody, okay?
7-Eleven.
There are some excellent sources of high quality CBD products. Now, what CBD is, it's only one other specific cannabinoid, with THC here is the only, so to speak, intoxicant, and then CBD being the leader of the band that are non-intoxicating. But very importantly, also CBN is one that we're now finding is a fantastic cannabinoid for sleep. Dispensaries in Florida sell that in capsule, not inhalation, okay, not any
Also,
form
you
of
can
pot.
just take it like a pill. That's
Yes.
great.
So what we're seeing, and there's CBC and CBG and many others that once again haven't been appropriately explored, because let's listen, the green room is political and medical. On the political side, we need to get rid of Schedule 1
God,
designation.
yes, and please vote for
Because
people
it's
who want
all
to
of
get
the
rid
other cannabinoids in concert with THC that bring on what we call the entourage effect, or the beauty of the plant. So what's so joyous in Florida right now is that, and let's face it, when we have those people that don't understand cannabis as medicine, they're always going to focus on the THC. And I call that the drumbeat of prohibition, because it's always how much THC, the effects of THC, limit the THC. And let's face it, THC is the most medicinal part of the cannabis plant. CBD and the other cannabinoids, major players as well, but you can't do without the THC. Point is that in the beauty of the cannabis medicinal world, we can keep the THC here and the CBD and the other cannabinoids here in an oil, right? In a cream, in a patch.
So-
and then you can find that balance that helps you uniquely. That's why it's the education that you get about cannabis as medicine that's so important. And Ruta, that's for people that have used cannabis for adult recreational use, or doobie threes, right? Or those people that have never used
Because
cannabis.
I know that there's a lot of people who've never used, and
Of course.
and there's so many questions about insomnia, because on my post that I did, the feedback that I got, there's so many adults who are either stressed or have anxiety right now, and they're up like me all night thinking about work or thinking about other things that you have in your life, and you sit there and you just think all night and you can't sleep.
I think there's a virus out there too.
And there's a
You
Is
know,
there-
and then I think, I have mine. No, seriously. And I speak to this, Ruta. It's 2020.
true.
What we have to recognize about 2020 is that cannabis as a substance has always been on the planet. It predates the hypodermic needle. That's when cannabis started to be withdrawn from the black bag of medicine. If it was 1895, and you've heard this, I think in the green room, if I was coming out with my horse and buggy whip to see you on the farm, I'd pull out a tincture of cannabis oil in 1895. Hypodermic needle invention takes it away because pharma couldn't make money. And then Harry Anslinger needed something to do after prohibition and alcohol, right? And that was racism, that was Hispanics, that was black swing. And then Richard Nixon needed a drug war in 1971, which is really when, once again, Schedule 1. And let's get back to Schedule 1. Schedule 1 is stopping us from the research. And I'm really angry at the Democrats. In their platform, okay, they were not ultimately strong on cannabis. Now, it was against legal adult use, and I'm not saying that I'm for national legal adult use at this point, perhaps, but I think it's a statement that needs to be made that the medical programs need to be protected, and we need to move towards solving some of the racial and social injustice issues that exist every day in cannabis. I told myself in every forum, there's a good one tonight, by the way, everybody. I think it's Southwest Florida. Normal, and you can find it on Facebook.
But I want to get back to sleep because people have questions about sleep.
You're right.
So say for instance,
that's me just wondering.
Yes, but say for instance, like all these people are tuning in because it's insomnia today. I have insomnia. I'm going to call the clinic. I'm going to call Compassionate Cannabis Clinic and say, I have insomnia. I can't sleep. Can I get medical marijuana? But I don't think it's a qualifying condition. So how are you going to help me with medical cannabis if I can't qualify under the state of Florida?
And thank you for being the captain of this ship this morning, Ruta, because you're right. You steered it right back. Because yes, persistent insomnia or anxiety or mild depression, those things are not covered in the state of Florida statute. However, we do have that wonderful catchphrase, similar, likewise, debilitating conditions of the same kind or class or as comparable to PTSD. Now, this is really important. I respect my veterans. I respect my first responders. Their PTSD may be different, okay, than others. And believe me, as you know, we take great pride in taking care of our veterans and first responders. But I think we all have an aspect of PTSD living in society as we do today. If you're
especially with coronavirus.
Listen, if you're a cannabis consumer or not, Ambien, alcohol, Ativan, Xanax, narcotics, of course, those all work on a different receptor system, Ruta. And let's talk about insomnia specifically. The CB1 and 2 receptors that are the endocannabinoid system are not the mu receptors in the brainstem. That's what turns off breathing. Alcohol, yes. Opiates, of course. Ativan, Xanax, the benzodiazepines, yes, of course. Alone or in combination. Cannabis, never so. So they can be added to the other medications, and almost everybody wants less. So how do people take less of those others if they're already on the Xanax?
I think most people want to get off the
well, nobody wants more.
Yeah, nobody, or even what is that, Benadryl?
And it's important.
People said just take Benadryl. I'm like,
it's important, and it's a philosophy of our clinic. So the first philosophy is we welcome our adult patients who are coming in looking for what everybody is looking for. Those three things. Feel the best you can in the safest, most natural, most controllable way that you can, and to be legal in doing so. So we know how to do it. We follow the state's rules explicitly, and we document appropriately. We get past medical records if they're available. We try to do everything right by the patient because we don't want them losing their recommendation. But the second thing, it's about the education of the different cannabinoids. And
I was going to say, like, okay, so if I were a patient, because you hear sativa, you hear indica, and you're like, I don't know what's what. And so what happens, like, if I come in and I have no clue, like,
we have our educators, and I play some role in it. But my point is we have a system that teaches about the endocannabinoid system, what THC is, what the other cannabinoids are as well. So for example, if you're one of our 1/3 of our patients, everybody come in, have never used cannabis in their life, right? And we call them our Doobie 1 patients. And there's the Dr. Barry Doobie scale. If I'm ever anything ever named after me in medicine, it will be the Dr. Barry Doobie scale. But the point is that patient will of course be advised to use a high quality CBD, CBN, and the other cannabinoids, and bring their THC in from the underside so they avoid that mental high feeling that they don't want to have. And once again, that's what separates out cannabis as medicine from just street cannabis, right? Is the products themselves, right? As well as the ability to deliver them by oil, by patch, by cream, in different ways. That's unique. So you really get to find that balance that works best for you, and you're never physically addicted to it. Now, listen,
because people are going to be like, oh, how am I going to feel in the morning? And before we get to that, if anybody has any questions,
we do have a question.
We have a question. Oh, okay, go ahead, Donna. Can you read the question?
Now, if I have a carry permit, can I keep it if I have medical cannabis card?
We'll repeat the question in case you couldn't hear it. The question from David is, if I have a license to carry a
Concealed
carry
Yeah.
weapons permit, will that jeopardize my status if I get a medical marijuana card? It's one of the most common questions.
The
we
singular
have.
most common question that we get besides job protections, right?
Yeah, job protection.
Listen, there's a lot of great stuff that's written on this. Nikki Fried herself has weighed in on it. She oversees Florida's concealed carry program. Uniquely, she has both her medical cannabis card and her concealed carry card. It's well known. So it doesn't solve the issue for those that are concerned about signing a federal form. We advise getting your concealed carry first.
Yes.
So
get
that
it
you already
first.
signed the
and buy your
form.
weapon first, because and the only
It's a
other,
sticky wicket.
it is a sticky wicket, but there's loopholes. So you even, because I have a concealed carry weapons permit myself. So what happens, just you can't buy it at a gun shop, but you can buy it at gun shows. There's a lot of loopholes. So you can still have your medical marijuana card and your concealed carry.
But just to reassure Dave, we have
there's
many
that
patients who
have
do
it.
have both. And it's pretty well recognized and well written. You can find, you know, and once again, I hate to say find it on Facebook because, well, you can find a lot of things on Facebook.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
But Dave, thanks for the question. And if anybody else has any questions, please don't hesitate. We're here. You have Dr. Berry, one of the most premier doctors in cannabis in the state. So please ask him questions, because even for Insomnia, I'm asking a lot of questions. So, and I'm sure you have some more. So we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. So please, if you have any questions, shoot them on over. And
But getting
we'll be
back to
happy
the
to
science
answer
of the
them.
insomnia, issue with cannabis, very important to know. The good news is cannabis doesn't seem to affect a lot of the important aspects of the sleep cycle, right? To the extent of the REM sleep and the different cycles.
And what if you have apnea? Does it affect you if you have sleep apnea?
I was just going to get to that. And the good news is this, the research not yet being done here in the United States, Schedule 1, but the point is in Israel and Spain and other, countries, we are seeing the research that yes, there are receptors that absolutely respond to the positive to cannabis that aids in the sleep apnea and in the metabolic process with pre-diabetes. And that's the point. There's so much that we don't know. But this is what I do know. If I had the choice, if I had a sleep issue of trying cannabis versus having my doctor put me on Ativan or Xanax or Ambien, or tell me that, you know what, you have one glass of wine a night, why don't you have a second glass of wine and, try the Ambien with it, okay? Seriously, I worry about that person waking up at 6:30 in the morning and going to work and performing their duties, right? So to me, it's always about impairment. So people worry about their job protections.
We have one more. We have another question. Go ahead, Donna, read it out.
All right. So this is from Mandy, and she has Ehlers-Danlos.
Right.
What is best for chronic muscle spasms?
Sure. Well, with Ehlers-Danlos, listen, that is a cartilaginous. Those would be, God, and I hate to make these stupid analogies because it's almost insulting. The rubber band and the circus, so to speak. Okay. It's where you can literally.
Most people don't know what that
is.
is.
It's literally you can bend your thumb all the way behind.
Yeah, people are extremely flexible.
It is.
Like the circus performers.
And it's a genetic thing. And listen, there is pain involved, of course. Listen, muscle spasms are interesting because that brings up that whole issue of chronic pain again. Listen. Why do people not sleep, Ruta? A lot of people don't sleep because of chronic pain.
There's pain.
Right?
There's a lot
so
of
chronic pain is interesting in Florida, and Ehlers-Danlos, we wish was one of the qualifying conditions here in Florida. But once again, you got to remember similar, likewise debilitating conditions of the same kind of class. Muscle spasms are in MS or in Parkinson's. So the point is, you can absolutely qualify in Florida with Ehlers-Danlos and other chronic pain conditions. You need to see the doctor who knows how to document it right. Strain-wise and cultivar-wise for cannabis, here's the point. Let's talk about indica and sativa as we wrap things up today. So people say, listen, the indicas are probably going to be better for sleep, okay? Or the sativas are going to be better for energy, or this strain may be better for pain. Here's the great point. Now you can see what's in your cannabis products. The terpenes, which are another whole category of compounds. And you know what? We'll do that on one of our other green
we have
rooms.
to show people more.
What are the terpenes? Terpenes is pinene in pine, limonene in lemon, right? Valencine, calendula. It is. That's why cannabis products smell so gorgeous. The sativas, so to speak, the fruities are supposed to energize. But you know what? They put some people to sleep. The skunkies, the myrcene, the lilacs, they're supposed to put people to sleep. But you know what? Some people, they energize. That would be your indicas. And that's why doctors don't like it when there's unreliable results from products. But this is what I like to teach. The reliable thing about cannabis is the 100% of safety. So you're never going to suppress breathing. So your patient's always going to wake up. I don't want anybody, wandering into the refrigerator at midnight either that tried to go to sleep at 10 because they got the wrong product.
Pete Thiessen, if you're listening, I know that was one of your commentaries because he's like, all I'm going to do is go pig out in the refrigerator and then I probably will fall asleep. No.
But so the point is, listen, there's another cannabinoid, THCV, that's an appetite suppressant. Here's the point. The beauty of science, the beauty of botany is that now they're listing the various cannabinoids and the terpenes. So if you learn that, hey, limonene, it stimulates most people, but you know what? To me, it puts me right to sleep. Then you can look for products that have limonene in there.
Yeah.
If you want to avoid all THC, you can just go with the CBN only product at this point, right?
And I think that's like, maybe we can post some information about the CBN and things like that, because like I said, I'm one of them. I don't understand it. So
You're not going to find that out unless you go into the appropriate medical clinic, meet the appropriate educators, right? And go to a place that really cares about advancing cannabis as medicine. And that's why we do the green room, because that's why it's the green room. It's not red. It's not blue. This is a universal issue. It's nothing but a plant.
It's a plant and it has nothing to do with politics.
Listen, I'm writing a new article for Bob Riley. And I think, Don, I'm going to call it, what would cannabis say? It's not my fault. I'm just a plant. Right?
And I'm going to write an article about having squatters in your home.
Yeah. We'll talk about anxiety and insomnia.
Exactly.
So just wrapping up the insomnia topic. Listen, we know it's a huge topic and a huge subject. I just want to give one practical thing. Next time you're laying awake in bed and you can't go to sleep, check to see if your tongue is pressing on the top of your palate. Okay. Believe me, it probably is. If you relax your tongue off the top of your palate, you'll feel some degree of relaxation. Listen, I am all for mindfulness. I'm all for yoga. I'm all for all the
not at 3 o'clock in the
biofeedback
morning when you can't
techniques
sleep and you're like,
that
oh my
work.
God, help me.
I got it. So I like to give a couple practical things, but try the tongue trick, believe it or not. Take it off the roof of your palate.
Okay,
You'll
so
feel some
everybody
degree of
watching who's going to do
relaxation.
that tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning when we're not sleeping, please go ahead and just feel free to put it on Facebook because I'll be up watching too.
Let us know how it works. But my point is, I'm all for the mindfulness and the biofeedback and the yoga and all the other techniques that can be used that are non-medicinal in any way. But if you're going to talk about a substance to assist, we have to look at a plant, and we have to look at a plant that's always going to allow you to wake up and that you can always control. And that's what I love about cannabis is the controllability for the vast majority of our patients with the appropriate education. So listen, that's what we do at Compassionate Cannabis Clinic.
Well, people are having questions, so why don't they keep asking the
Sure.
questions and maybe next week we'll be able to answer them. So
Yeah.
we can have them so we don't have to
Yep.
put it on time.
We love it.
Sure.
Oh,
There's
the
a lot of
terpenes.
We'll do
terpenes.
I know.
So
Lupus.
okay, there's a lot of people asking about terpenes. So next week, what we'll do is we'll do the whole segment on terpenes because
Sure.
I don't know anything about them either. So I take everyone's place out there because I have no clue on this stuff. So
The great thing about terpenes, and let's wrap it up
I
this
don't
way,
know.
cannabis is a plant. It has plant compounds. It just has some unique ones called the cannabinoids, and they respond to our endo within us cannabinoid system. So it's just about being human. Evan Britton did a great cannabis lab spot earlier this week, and he had a great quote, and I'm going to use it. Being a human being offers a lot of unique possibilities, right? And it's unique in the planet. There's not a lot of us. There's a lot more ants. Right? So the point is, we have an endocannabinoid system, and we can't ignore a plant that actually has things that respond to a system that we have. So to me, I think it's a natural
I think
solution.
it's just a new science that needs to be brought up. And I think it, like you said, I think the physicians and medical.
It's kind of like the Sphinx,
schools
Ruta.
and
It's
things.
been around forever. It's just been
Forever, it's
buried with
just-
a lot of
It
sand.
is a lot of sand. You got to start unburying it. So you guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got some information
I love
about
the response to
insomnia.
the green room
Thank
today.
you so much.
But read
for
that article. It's a
everyone
fantastic
watching.
article. It really brings up a lot about the cannabinoids.
And we'll be
and studies.
posting information. We'll do links and anything that we have. Please look for it on our Facebook
Wear a mask.
page. Wear a mask. Stay safe. Practice social distancing as I spill my coffee all over.
But that's why types are great.
That's why
It
that's
took a
why
lot
you
to get that coffee.
and that's why you should never have coffee in front of you.
No, that's why you should always have coffee.
This is what happens when you don't sleep.
See you next week in the
See you
green
next
room.
week. Thank you,
Bye.
guys.